Call to order Prescott Valley Town Council meeting, May 12th, 2022. Clerk, please call the roll.
Councilmember Kinzinger.
Present.
Councilmember Dickinson.
Here.
Councilmember Hepperly.
Here.
Councilmember Schumacher.
Present.
Councilmember Packard.
Present.
Vice Mayor Hunt.
Here.
Mayor Polkuda.
Present.
We have a quorum.
Thank you, ma'am. I'd like to welcome down for our invocation Father Dan Volman. Welcome, sir. Please join us in invocation.
Good and gracious God, we give you thanks and praise for the blessings you bestow upon us. We ask that please bless us with moisture, with rain. We're rather dry here, Lord. We're in a drought. Please, I know it's not our rainy season, but give us some rain, tide us over to the monsoons, and may our monsoons be early and plentiful to bring needed moisture to our area. We ask blessings upon our first responders and our military. Keep safe those who keep us safe. Keep them safe, Lord. We're approaching summer vacation for our children. Keep our children safe this summer. And finally, we ask blessings upon our town council. Grant the abundance of wisdom and right judgment as they lead and guide our town. We ask this to Christ our Lord. Amen.
Amen. Father, will you please lead us in the pledge?
Yes. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Going on to item 3. At this time, I'd like to invite down the principal of Liberty Traditional School, Ms. Danette. Welcome, ma'am.
Go to the side here. Good evening. Thank you so much for having us. And we are super proud of our students who will be presenting tonight. They are 5 of the students from our gifted program, and I'm not in that program. Christy Murphy is our gifted teacher. She couldn't be here tonight, so she asked me to step in. And 4 of our kiddos have a presentation, and then we have another one with an essay that we are extremely proud of, and thank you so much for sitting through this.
All right, at this time, I'm going to call up the students. Can Sonia Whittingberg come on down? Allison Barney. Landon Bloom. Sydney Smith. And finally, Ethan Bogg. Welcome, guys.
Can you do about waste? An example of a waste-wise house has a greenhouse with plants to absorb carbon dioxide and has trash nowhere around the house.
This helps to not disperse the trash throughout the rest of the neighborhood and affect the wildlife.
A greenhouse, or even just a garden, can be implemented to take some of the greenhouse gases out of the atmosphere. If everyone in the world had a garden and some trees, we would see the impact of this.
Being environmentally friendly can not only help you, but also people with health problems like asthma and bronchitis. If you think about it, lives can be saved if everyone does their part. Plants are like natural air purifiers that most people have access to. Deforestation is very devastating. Trees can absorb lots of carbon dioxide from the air. This house has a tree to absorb some of the carbon dioxide it produces.
Everyone can do something to keep the pollution they produce under control. Plants can help.
Plants absorb carbon dioxide and water and transfer electrons from one to the other accordingly. They then break each of them down to make food. During all of this, they release the oxygen back into the air. This process is called photosynthesis.
This is why plants are so good for the environment, because carbon dioxide causes global warming and they absorb it. They also release the oxygen back into the air for other living things to breathe. Trees are huge vacuum bags of carbon dioxide. They can absorb approximately 1 ton of carbon dioxide in 40 years. However, one person can produce 2 tons of carbon dioxide in 1 year. As proven, it is very important to have many trees around communities, along with other plants, of course.
This house also doesn't use weed or bug killers. These can kill good plants and insects like oxygen-producing trees and pollination parasites.
If plant and bug populations decrease, other species would wreak havoc on the ecosystem. This would cause an array of issues.
The first effect of this would be on the warming of the earth, or global warming, because there would be a decrease of good plants. This also affects the glaciers and ice caps that takes away homes from the animals that live in, on, or around these icy and cold areas. Because of this, polar bears, some species of penguins, seals, and other Arctic and Antarctic creatures might be in danger or go extinct.
Another effect would be the growth of invasive and possibly harmful species. One example of this would be mosquitoes. These pests cause many diseases, including malaria and yellow fever.
An outbreak of these could result in mass death tolls. This might cause important businesses and factories to close, making shortages in important utilities.
These are huge examples of what harmful chemicals could cause. However, it would affect everyone, not just big businesses.
This just goes to show that a lack of a couple species is detrimental and can cause lots of damage.
Alternatives can be used to prevent things like this. One example is using electric lawn mowers that trim all of the plants rather than killing them. This also decreases the amount of pollution that the house contributes to.
The lawn trimmings can be used after cleanup too. They can go into compost, benefiting plants even more. They can be used to feed animals, or some can even be used to cook meals. There are so many options instead of just letting them go to waste.
Diatomaceous earth can be used as a natural killer. This powderized glass cuts the outer shell of bugs, and they begin to slowly die. This also won't hurt children or pets.
It smells like essential oils, and citronella candles can repel most bugs if you don't want them flying around in an enclosed area.
Lastly, barriers like walls can be put in place to keep pests out. This can also help separate people from nature.
You may not want bugs and plants in your house or workspace, but to grow a garden, these things are crucial. First off, bugs like worms break down the soil and allow water and air to flow through the worms' tunnels.
Spiders keep the population of harmful bugs under control.
Many people don't think about their trash either. That's why this household knows what the trash companies do with their trash and make sure they go to the right places or place.
The trash needs to be contained and managed to make sure it doesn't harm the environment.
Trash needs to be recycled and reused when possible. Some arts and crafts involve trash like jars from food, washed of course, old boxes, glass bottles, rocks and stones, rubber, and much, much more.
Most things don't have to go to waste when you have a garden and make crafts out of trash. Homes that have a greenhouse and uses food scraps they throw away to make compost.
To reiterate, waste needs to be dealt with in an organized, clean, and efficient way and be reused and composted when possible.
Trees and other plants can be used to take carbon dioxide from the air and produce oxygen.
The environment can be harmed by toxic poisons, so use safer options.
We can help the environment with just a few changes to our lifestyle. And remember, one person's trash is the other person's treasure.
How great was that? Ethan, come on up, buddy.
Waste-wise, where it is and what it does. Imagine a community where waste management is the top priority, where proper disposal of trash is key and doesn't fly with every gust of wind. Imagine an area without messy parking lots and fences with trash tangled in them after being tossed to the ground. The so far imaginary community is actually a reality in the form of a waste-wise area. These environmentally conscious communities focus on proper waste management as stated before. A waste-wise community is more properly defined as waste management efforts and endorsement of proper recycling measures. WasteWise is an organization focusing on the environmental protection of communities. There are certain things that make communities WasteWise. One thing that differentiates these communities from all the others is that everyone does their part. People in these communities try to work together the best they can to keep their communities clean. The people involved with WasteWise understand the damages litter can cause and work hard to combat them. People can do many things to work with this organization, and when they do, they help everyone around them. Another thing that can be done to utilize the opportunities presented by WasteWise is that waste usage can be cut down upon. While WasteWise is undoubtedly important and is something that should really continue spreading its effective messages and methods, not every place uses it. One place that might need some implementation is the Quad City of Arizona. Prescott, Prescott Valley, Chino, and Dewey are all parts of the Quad City, and none of them use WasteWise. None of these places have employed WasteWise as useful waste management tactics that could serve these communities well. Among these 4 places, there is a bunch of litter. One specific location that contributes to all this trash is the parking lot of Walmart in Prescott, Arizona. Prescott Valley. The fact that these locations don't use WasteWise isn't great, and the effects of not making an attempt to use WasteWise could be detrimental to some areas. What makes not using WasteWise a little bit worse is that it doesn't have any negative aspects. This organization's only goal is to save the environment. WasteWise and those who work with the program have helped in many ways. One effect WasteWise has contributed to is the preservation of millions of trees. These trees are chopped down and harvested for paper. Though the effects of WasteWise, many trees have been saved, which is pretty good. Another reason that the fact these 4 places don't use WasteWise is kind of sad is that becoming someone who works with them is pretty much completely free. There are basically no restrictions or rules on who can join. In order for an organization to begin working with WasteWise, they have to be approved. Once that's done, they will have to fill out a form. After this is complete, they can participate with and help WasteWise combat litter. The fact that joining is completely free, anyone can join, and their only benefits means these places could consider to join. Litter types and their effects. Why does WasteWise and its partners care so much about getting rid of waste? Litter is extremely bad for wildlife and the environment. An obvious reason for litter being bad for animals is that they can eat waste and get serious ailments or possibly die. Another reason WasteWise and partners of WasteWise care so much about getting rid of waste is that litter can lead to fires, just like cigarettes can. Soil can be affected, damaging plants of many kinds. Crops people eat can also be affected with smaller yields and tainted food. This helps prove waste is bad. It's definitely easy to see why dealing with waste is really important. However, it's also important to know what types of litter to prioritize above others. A few of the most common pieces of litter are plastic bags, plastic bottles and their caps, and cigarette butts. They are so widespread throughout the world that seeing bags tangled in fences and bottles beside the road feels almost normal. Tissues and napkins are another big issue, as they are obviously made of paper, causing the destruction of trees. They're also bleached to stay sanitary. Of course, there are other problems. While litter is a really bad problem, there are other concerns like light pollution. Light pollution is one of the few things not caused by litter. It's caused by unnecessary artificial lights. However, while there are other forms of pollution, there are a select few not pretty much directly caused by litter. Fertilizers, insecticides, and herbicides can cause huge issues if they end up in bodies or reserves of water, as they can contaminate drinking water and can harm marine animals and upset ecosystems. There's also sound pollution caused by vehicles that can cause a variety of issues. Heading back to the topic of Arizona Quad City area and its litter and lots, it has many trash-filled areas. Landfills are one of the more visible and obvious factors in rampant pollution. Many objects and items like aluminum cans, plastic bottles, and paper slated to be recycled don't actually always meet their desired destination, that being recycling centers. Instead, some of these objects that were supposed to be reused to benefit the environment are actually sent to landfills. There are more than just a few reasons for this. One very possible reason is that Arizona doesn't have many or any waste programs. Clearly, things are far behind average, getting worse, and aren't slowing down. Improvements need to be made in order to help and benefit thousands of people, save many animals, and help the environment in general. One improvement that could be made is to help Arizona all throughout is that more effort could be put into maintaining recycling centers. If one very large issue is the sheer amount of waste being deposited into landfills, then decreasing the amount of waste added to dumps would make a positive impact. If fewer things turn into waste, then the effects of waste could be diminished. Ongoing efforts. While Arizona is pretty far behind average in terms of managing its waste and manning recycling centers, there are a few things being done to combat the ever-present threat of rampant littering. For a start, fines can be delivered to individuals who are caught littering. These fines can be extremely expensive. The amounts of money required after being charged can range from $500 to over $2,000. These pricey punishments can help ward off those who may think about leaving their waste unmanaged. On top of this, jail time could be something for more serious issues. There are plenty of good reasons to support or join WasteWise and to promote its important messages and ideas. However, nothing is perfect, even though these things can be pretty good. WasteWise normally has high success rates and normally does its job very well. However, there could be some things that may not meet the preset baseline or standards set by WasteWise. This is really the only way to fail WasteWise. Anything that might fall short of goals ordinarily isn't seriously far behind the standards, and they really shouldn't detract at all from the numerous other great things achieved by WasteWise. The parking lot of Walmart is a piece of work. It's filled with plastic bags and bottles, and changes need to be made. The things that could be changed by Arizona don't hold up the same way. There are no landfills. That means the previous reasons can be added to. If there is lots of waste in the parking lot, then more biodegradable products could be sold so that things don't stick around, damaging the environment. Volunteers could come through often and pick up the parking lot. Trash cans could become more visible so people are aware of litter. What's more than just stating improvements are needed is explaining how they could work. More environmentally friendly products could be sold at the store in order to keep the parking lot cleaner. This solution might not work as Walmart would need to rework many things. On the volunteer idea, if more people come to clean the parking lot more often and more thoroughly, trash wouldn't linger for long. All that's needed is more determined people. Lastly, more eye-catching trash cans would catch direct attention and remind people to dispose of their litter. For this to work, all that's needed is paint. The parking lot and others will be able to benefit from these ideas in a few ways. One way is that, imagining the solutions are being used, in the event that someone ignores the clearly visible, unobstructed trash cans and they make it outside, casually toss their trash to the ground and move on, it will soon be picked up. After this, if they're caught littering, they'll be fined, hopefully making them learn their lesson. Another way is that the habits ingrained in many people can be reversed, making many less likely to carelessly dispose of their trash. Conclusion. So, in all, WasteWise is very important to help the planet. WasteWise can be used by anyone, anywhere in the world. WasteWise can combat trash and litter of every single type. WasteWise solutions are effective and can be easily built upon. In conclusion, WasteWise is a very accessible and valuable resource.
Here we go. One more time, everyone. Next up, Chamber of Commerce presentation by Ms. Katie Swan.
Wow, those kids were really smart. So first of all, I would be totally remiss if after hearing that presentation, if I didn't mention, of course, as you all know, but for all y'all in the audience, we have our Prescott Valley team up to clean up this weekend, but it's also the Prescott Valley Town cleanup this weekend, so you can go and take any garbage, anything that you have laying around your house and get it dropped off. So, and if you just want to help out and clean up and keep Prescott Valley Arizona's cleanest city, you can come to the Prescott Valley Chamber of Commerce this weekend at 8:30. We'll feed you donuts and coffee, and we'll send you out, and you can clean up our town and come back for some hot dogs. So that's what we do. We're good at feeding people. Tonight I have one business to introduce to you guys. I'm sure you're familiar with them, but they do incredible work. I had to cheat because they have quite a long acronym. LASER, Large Animal Shelters and Emergency Readiness. I have Kathy Heath here to talk about their business.
Welcome, everyone.
Good evening. I'm Kathy Heath. This is Greg Valenti and Lynn Valenti. We are all directors of LASER. I am the secretary. Greg is first vice president, and Lynn is our volunteer coordinator. We were here just a little over a year ago to talk to you about LASER. You may remember us. And we just kind of wanted to bring you up to date on what's been happening. As a reminder, we are a 501c3 nonprofit. We are an all-volunteer organization, and we partner with Yavapai County. We are activated by the county's emergency management office. We accept barn animals from evacuees mostly during wildfires. We accept horses and goats and pigs and sheep and chickens and turkeys and yeah, we have quite a menagerie. So we do not accept commercial herds. Businesses are supposed to have their own plan for this type of situation. Our volunteers go through extensive training and can choose whatever level of involvement they'd like to get in with us, caring for the animals. We feed and water while they are in our care. We do wellness checks. We partner with Prescott Animal Hospital if we cannot reach the owner's veterinarian. So we take extensive paperwork when people do arrive at the shelter with their animals. We have several shelter sites available to us. In Prescott Valley here, in Chino Valley at the Equestrian Park, and downtown Prescott at the rodeo grounds. Our primary location is right here in Prescott Valley. I'm sure you're aware of that. The county has provided a large animal evacuation center with 190 stalls, and we have a written agreement with the county that the LASER volunteers will run the shelter on behalf of the county. We have been activated in our short 3 years 6 times and been on standby 5 times, every single time for wildfire. The Crooks Fire, we were activated for 2 weeks. We had volunteers out there 24 hours a day, some people sleeping in their cars, just because we want to be there to watch over the animals while they are in our care. We had residents from Walker who were evacuated and brought their animals to us. We had horses, goats, turkeys, ducks, chickens, and a rooster named Mr. Fancy Pants. So it was quite an experience. 2-week activation, which was unprecedented. We get community support from all local businesses, from equine groups, from individuals, from Olson's. They provide the hay when we need it. We have partnerships, like I said, with Prescott Animal Hospital. We get grants. We've been very successful with grants through the Arizona Community Foundation, State Farm Insurance, Safeway grocery stores. The community comes together, and that's the most important thing. We do support emergency readiness, and that's the second half of our mission statement. So we do give community presentations, encouraging people to be fire-wise, to clear space, defensible space around their homes and their barns. We encourage a go kit for people and for their animals. We encourage signing up for Code Red. And now we are promoting our I Am Ready campaign. We're encouraging horse owners especially to prepare their shelter intake documents ahead of time so that when they arrive at the shelter and there's a long line of vehicles, we can get them processed more quickly and accurately and get them settled. So that's basically it.
Awesome, ma'am. Hopefully you're very, very slow in the upcoming months.
It's going to be a rough year, I think.
Well, thank you for joining us.
We're off to an early start. Thank you.
Thank you.
Ms. Swan? Thank you, ma'am. Moving on, item 4, call to the public. At this time, members of the public may comment on matters listed on the agenda or solely on matters within the jurisdiction of the town. Any persons wishing to address the council must complete a speaker card located inside the entrance of the council chambers and deliver it to the town clerk prior to the commencement of the meeting. The council's response is limited to responding to criticism, asking staff to review a matter commented upon, or asking that a matter be put on a future agenda. Such remarks shall be limited to 3 minutes unless additional time is granted by the mayor. Clerk?
Isabel Surcides.
Welcome.
Good afternoon. Isabel Cedesedes, Viewpoint, 13-year resident. Viewpoint Neighborhood Coalition members met with former town manager Larry Tarkowski in February of 2018 to discuss the Viewpoint Road north of 89A and the lack of marked crosswalks to the soccer park. We also made a case for 2 lanes with turnout pockets and a multi-use path. We discussed the Parkview connector, and he said that it would not happen until after Viewpoint Road was widened. Management had concerns about the road being able to accommodate traffic and construction vehicles. Mr. Tarkowski was clear that it was the developer's financial responsibility per the development agreement. He said it was cut and dry. He continued to be adamant about this even after the Viewpoint fire emergency, where he said the emergency route worked well. I'm not sure what facts changed, if any. I have seen nothing material, except perhaps there was some favoritism. It's my understanding that the connection was paid for with HERF funds, with highway user revenue funds, which is taxpayer money. If this was cut and dry, why was taxpayer money used? And what about the development agreement requirements? I think developers should fund infrastructure improvements before homes are built. And developers should have crosswalk markings done at the same time they build out the roads. I don't think good decisions have been made, and safety was not considered in the opening of the Viewpoint connection. It certainly did not benefit Viewpoint residents. There needs to be a better signal transition at the intersection of Viewpoint and Parkview Drive. Traffic is horrendous during peak times. Viewpoint residents also participated in the October 2021 study on crosswalks, and it's notable that in the first phase, the town is putting up 41 crosswalk markings. The nicer, newer communities of Stone Ridge, Granville, and Quailwood got marked crosswalks. Pronghorn Ranch got 11. Viewpoint got none. Something is wrong with the priority and concern for safety. I'm asking that the Parkview Drive be studied by a certified traffic engineer to assess the traffic situation to ensure that all users are safe. Also, Viewpoint North has been under declarant control for over 20 years. I'm asking that if developers, can I have another minute?
No, ma'am.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Clerk? Clerk?
Next up is Jacqueline Vesa.
Welcome, ma'am.
Good evening. My name is Jacqueline Dessa from Viewpoint East. I've been a resident for 16 years, and I'm also a director of the HOA board. I too am concerned about the traffic on Viewpoint, and with Poquito Valley growing and a lot of people coming in, the need for marked crosswalks, especially at the park and other intersections. we walk in the neighborhood, we cross over from east to west, and sometimes we're just waiting to cross the road, and there's so much traffic coming in because of Parkview being open. In the recent crosswalk study, it said pedestrian demand exists to cross Viewpoint Drive, and that many made comments about safety concerns. This should have been a wake-up call to the town that there is a pressing safety issue. Because the safety issue still exists, I would like Parkview connection to be closed, but at least a study be made and expedited on the safety issues to keep us all safe. Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Clerk.
Dale Strickland.
Welcome, sir.
Thank you for your attention this evening. I'm Dale Strickland. I live in Park Ridge. I've been there about 7 years now. Park Ridge is up on North Viewpoint, adjacent to the Viewpoint Park. I'm here to ask the council to support the idea of a crosswalk, especially at the corner of Park View and Viewpoint Drive. We obviously had an accident there, a fatal accident a week ago or so, which is very unfortunate, but I don't think that has anything to do with the need for a crosswalk there. But I think we need a crosswalk there. I'm asking for your support to effectuate that. Viewpoint Drive is very, very busy. We have all kinds of traffic. I've been there in the 7 years that I've lived there. The traffic on Viewpoint Drive is just quadrupled. We have growth out there. We have the new Copperfield development going in. We have all the construction traffic going up to there and also up to Prescott Valley. The park is being utilized on a daily basis by women with children, young people, people of all ages. There are soccer tournaments there on a regular basis. It's just a very busy park. There are no sidewalks there, either on Parkview or on Viewpoint. I know that there's plans in effect for the future to expand or widen Viewpoint Drive, but until then, it's really dangerous. It's not only that intersection, but there are other side streets that are coming in there that that need crosswalks also. So I'm just asking for your support to maybe accomplish that in the near future. There was somebody said, well, maybe we need a roundabout there. That would be. I'm sure that there are some residents that would object to that. But to where I'm from in the Midwest, roundabouts are pretty common, so it's not that big of an issue. But my point here is that's a dangerous intersection. We need to at least have a flashing light there, getting people to stop. The police obviously are doing a good job for the most part of keeping the speeders down, but we don't have as much enforcement out there as we'd like. But my point here is if you can support that, we'd really appreciate it. Along the side, I'm running out of time here, but along the side of Viewpoint Drive, there's just a little bike lane on each side that's about 3 or 4 feet wide, and the people on bicycles use that. Pedestrians use that, and I mean, 2 weeks ago I saw a young woman with a baby buggy going up through there, pushing her, a child in a buggy up the side of Viewpoint Drive. A couple of months ago, there were two people.
We understand. We believe we're not arguing
All right.
the
Anyway,
crosswalk, sir.
Thank you. Appreciate your
Thank
time
you for
and
your
attention.
time.
Have a nice evening.
Clerk.
Sandy Cordova.
Welcome, ma'am.
I'm Sandy Cordova, and I've been a resident of Prescott Valley for 23 years. and I'm here to comment on the general plan, and especially in the area of the town's responsibility for water management and conservation. In Chapter 9, there's a statement that says, "The town of Prescott Valley enjoys excellent air and water quality, vistas that create a feeling of openness and abundant natural resource. Maintenance and preservation of these environmental components are important aspects that contribute toward Prescott Valley's quality of life. It is misleading to include water as an abundant natural resource and as being maintained and preserved in our town. There is an overdraft situation where more water is pumped than recharged, and the Prescott Valley's annual average is 4,000 acre feet, which is contributing to the overdraft. At the same time, contractors and developers are building at an increased rate. So how do you maintain responsible growth? What methods can be used to improve the town's water supply without increasing overdraft? How is our town maintaining and preserving water quality and availability for now and the future? And then also in the same chapter of the general plan, and although the reclaimed water credits represent an improvement to the town's water portfolio, this water supply is not enough to both meet water needs for growth and for balancing the aquifer. Now that is true, but what the part is that the idea of wanting to import water through the Big Chino subbasin. There are great uncertainties surrounding the likelihood of approval of the Big Chino pipeline. And what water conservations can be implemented rather than importing the water? What costs will be passed on to the residents to provide these additional water supplies from the Big Chino sub-basin? So my whole idea is for the town to have better water management and more conservation methods. And thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Clerk?
Carl Shadow.
Welcome, sir.
Thank you. Mr. Mayor, fellow council. My name is Carl Shadle. I am a resident of Prescott Valley, Viewpoint North, as a matter of fact. And as long as we're on the topic of water, I thought I'd mention a few things. I learned a new word this week, and I'm going to share that with you in just a moment. But there's a few people I wanted to thank first because I did some research. One of the people I did some research, Brad Udall, who's a senior water and climate research scientist at Colorado State University. Also Jonathan Overpeck, who's the Dean of School for Environment and Sustainability at University of Michigan. And then a local guy, Ed Wolf, who's a PhD, he's a retired hydrologist. So all of those people help me understand. Particularly Mr. Udall, Mr. Overpeck, I have spent the last decade studying the effect of drought on the Colorado River. And they reported actually in 2017, they wrote a report called in the Water Resources Research that, the Colorado River flow between 2000 and 2014 was 19% below normal. We now know about some of the ramifications of that with the Lake Mead, Lake Powell, and of course the Colorado River being declared as an emergency. In 2018, they wrote a paper for the Colorado Research Group, River Research Group, and they called for new language to describe the scientific reality on the ground. And that what they said was the term drought is no longer accurate. Aridification, they argued, is the more fitting description. Aridification, they explained it describes a period of transition to an increasingly water-scarce environment, an evolving new baseline around which future extreme events, including droughts and floods, will likely occur. Simply put, a drought is temporary, aridification is more permanent. So, oops, sorry about that. That's embarrassing. Also, from the National Academy of Sciences, another report showed that frequent and severe drought is a new normal for the western United States. The long-term climate outlook is one of aridification. That's my new word, but I didn't know. And the subsequent impact on water availability will necessitate innovative solutions and to manage a constrained water supply and demand. And that relates directly to our 2035 general plan. And I think these things to be taken under consideration because they're absolutely vital to the health and well-being of Prescott Valley. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Clerk?
Mr. Tom Chase, would you like to speak now, or?
Welcome, sir.
Tom Chase, 3250 North Prescott East Highway. I'm moving to Viewpoint because it sounds safer there than it does on my street. Okay? All of my neighbors told me that everything that I was saying, because I was here 2 weeks ago, would fall on deaf ears. Guess what? They're right. I was here 2 weeks ago. Not one person from the city has contacted me or said anything. You have my email, my phone number. I'm not going away. Okay? We didn't get any crosswalks either, so you can send those to Viewpoint. But the council and the developers caused the monster. Of all the traffic on there, 95% of it don't live in our neighborhood. They're, again, the trucks hauling trusses, hauling stuff to Granville, okay? All the construction guys, they all have red shirts on. They all have green shirts on. You know, it's great to get woke up at 6 o'clock in the morning, almost every day, hearing the trucks going down the road. Oh, then you have your coffee and you get to smell the diesel fumes, and you get to listen to them. Okay, I told you last week our property value went down because it's so busy and the noise is there. I'm inviting every one of you to come to my house, okay? Sit in my driveway, my front yard, and observe it for 20 minutes. Come anytime, any day. I'm not there on Mondays and Tuesdays because I go to San Diego to take care of my parents. Any other day, you're welcome to come. It'll take 20 minutes, and you'll know what I'm talking about. Okay? I need to have some answers. My neighborhood needs to have some answers. Not the deaf and dumb about what's going on. It's been going on for 3 years. Okay? I did get some cooperation from the police department. On Friday, a week ago, they sat in my driveway for 1 hour. Okay? 4 tickets. I don't know what they get for tickets for speeding, but it's going to pay for somebody to be there more often, okay? Outside of seeing that, I've seen 4 cops up and down my street. Most of them turn off of Sunset and they go south, okay? There's a problem there. The neighbors joke, you got your thing out there that tells you how fast you're going. 81 miles an hour is what they get every day. That's the top speed of the people going through there. Again, it's the people don't live there. It's the people going through there that you guys have created the problem, again, with the developers.
Thank you, sir. Clerk. Moving on to item 5, council communications. Councilwoman Dickinson, you lead us off, please.
Thank you, everyone, for being here this evening. We had a very successful Prescott Valley Days event this last weekend, and we want to thank everybody for participating and coming out and enjoying themselves. And we've had a very full agenda for the council the last few weeks, but we just plow ahead and pursue all of these different events, and we thank you for all of your support.
Councilwoman, Vice Mayor?
Hi, everybody. Welcome. Thank you for your comments. I last week got to be at Mountain View Elementary and talk about our town code to fourth graders. They actually really enjoyed it, and the mayor actually came and talked to the debate club, and he did a fabulous job. And then later that week, for 2 days, I got to do sixth grade exit interviews, which is really a good thing to do. This third year I've done it. Those sixth graders are amazing as they prepare and tell us what they've done all year long to get ready for middle school. So our future residents are on the right track. And then this morning we had Prescott Valley Praise, our second annual at Park Collective, and it went very well. We usually meet on the National Day of Prayer. This year we had to change it a week, but we'll be meeting again next year. So watch the papers.
Councilman? Mr. Davidson?
Mr. Mayor and members of the council, just that the council monthly report and available for the public as well. It's on our website. It's a compilation of this past month's activity by various departmental units. Thank you.
Thank you. Moving on, item 7. Consent agenda. All matters listed under consent agenda are considered routine by the town council and will be enacted by one motion. There will be no separate discussion of these items. If discussion is desired, that item will be removed from the consent agenda and will be considered separately for discussion and possible action. Council, you've all had a chance to review the consent agenda. If there's no items you wish to remove, then I'll entertain a motion.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to approve the consent agenda by electronic vote.
I second.
Clerk, please call the vote.
That passes unanimously, Mayor.
Thank you, ma'am. Moving on to item 8, old business. Town Code Amendment, changing work study time, consideration and possible action. This will be a second reading. Clerk?
Ordinance number 2022-905. An ordinance of the Mayor and Common Council of the Town of Prescott Valley, a municipal corporation of Arizona, amending Section 2-04-10, regular and work study meetings, and Article 2-4, Council Procedure, in Chapter 2, Mayor and Council of the Town Code, to change the time for work-study meetings from 5:30 p.m. to 3 p.m., providing that if any provision in this ordinance is held invalid by a court of competent jurisdiction, the remaining provisions shall not be affected, but shall continue in full force and effect, and providing that this ordinance shall be effective 30 days after its passage and approval according to law.
Clerk, shall this ordinance pass?
That passes unanimously, Mayor.
Thank you, ma'am. Item 9, new business. Adoption Prescott Valley General Plan 2035, GPA 21-001, consideration and possible action. It's a public hearing. Mr. Balmer, welcome, sir.
Thank you, Mayor, Council. For the record, my name is Wayne Balmer, and I'm a consultant to the town helping you complete your new general plan for this year. I have a PowerPoint presentation, and I apologize if it's a bit repetitious for you, but we have new people in the audience, and we have a television audience, so I will go through it so that everyone is up to speed before you take action this evening.
Mr. Balmer, let me interrupt you for one moment before you start. The public hearing is open.
Oh, thank you, Mayor. Okay. Well, we have a current general plan. It was adopted in 2012. It goes through 2025. This is a copy of it. It's on our website. The state of Arizona requires every city and town in the state to have a comprehensive plan. They change depending on the size of your community, and we're under 50,000, so we have certain regulations we need to follow. One of those regulations is we have to update it every 10 years. And so what we're looking at now is having a general plan that we can put on the ballot for November of this year so that it is the 2035 general plan. So you've established a process to do it. This slide looks kind of busy, but it's been almost a busy year since you started this process. We had it come before you to set up a citizen participation plan. Over the summer, we adopted the plan. We started looking at the draft. The Planning Commission and you received the first chapters in October of last year, the second group of chapters in November, and the entire draft in December. And everyone had a chance to look at it, comment on it at that time. The state then requires us to send this to all kinds of different agencies who might want to comment on it. In Yavapai County, our neighbors, the State Land Department, and others that could be affected by our plan. We did that, came back in November. We had 2 meetings with the Planning Commission, one in this room on the 11th and one out at the school district's property on the 25th, so we could get people's involvement in the process. So here we are this evening for your action in order to get it approved so that the town clerk can get it to Yavapai County and get it on the agenda for the fall. When we started looking at this fall, the direction given to us was make it shorter, make it easier to read, put more pictures in it, put more graphics in it. Don't have it read like an encyclopedia, have it read like a magazine. So retain some of our goals that we have and add new goals and policies because things have changed in the last 10 years and they'll change again in the next 10 years. So how do we look forward to do that? So we retained policies, we added policies, and we added new goals for your consideration. This is the cover of the plan. It's on our website. Anyone can take a look at it. Those on the right are the different elements of the plan. They're required by the state of Arizona. We touch on each one of those. You heard a little bit about water, and I'll talk about that a little bit later. But transportation, housing, circulation, parks, recreation, they're all in there to provide the public information about how the town works, but also how the town has set up its goals for the next 10 years. So each one of these is in the book. They're color-coded. And some of the changes we have in this year's plan that you didn't have previously, we've included some new chapters. The mayor asked for a chapter on education, one on public safety. So we've included those new this year. We've updated all the land development maps because things have changed in the last 10 years and we wanted to show where it is now. Someone can look at it and see where we're going in the future. Along with that, the circulation map. Streets, as you heard, is always a controversial issue. So where will the new streets be? Where will the streets be widened? How can they tie together 10 years from now with trails and other things to bring it together? One of the interesting things we did this year, and I'll talk about it a little bit more, is the challenge of having public meetings during COVID. Sometimes if we were to hold a meeting, some people wouldn't come if we didn't have a mask, and others wouldn't come if we did. So we decided to do surveys. And that's a new thing that turned out very well, and I think the town should be proud of the way that came out. We added guiding principles. We updated our environmental element because we're concerned about water, as you heard about, and what can we do to affect that. We incorporated a plan that we did in 2020 for the parks so that we're bringing it all together. And we expanded our economic development element because economic development and growth to the community is very important. So we did these 2 surveys that I mentioned. One we called 20 questions. We asked 20 questions and we allowed citizens to respond. We had 502 responses and you couldn't respond twice. So it was only once from that address. We thought that was incredible given the fact that you normally have a neighborhood meeting like tonight and you might have 20 or 30 people, but to get 500 people to fill out a survey. And you can see the questions that we asked. You have them before you. They're in the book. They're on our website. We took those comments and tried to incorporate them into the new goals and policies that you see tonight. So if people said, for instance, on this one, design features are important. Well, what could we do to improve design? We added new goals and policies for your consideration. The second one we asked was, what are the top 5 things you like about Prescott Valley now? And what are the top 5 things you would like to see them change in the future? And so this is what we got. And you see the top 5 things. People thought it was a friendly town. It's got 4 seasons. It's growing. I don't need to go through all of them. You can look at it. We got very positive responses. But people thought about the town now. And if you look at the things for the future, those are all positive things. Things for kids, reduce traffic congestion, things that you will do as the town continues to grow. And then we said, how would you describe it in 3 words? If your relative is in Chicago and you say, I live in Prescott Valley, it is a blank, blank, blank community, what would people say? And this is what they gave us. Lots of very good words. Some of them were what we might call constructive criticisms, things that you can move on in the future to improve the community. So you can see how it looks, but we were really pleased by this. It meant people like the community, they were positive about the community, and they see the community has a positive future. So some of the new goals and policies I've mentioned. To enhance community design and appearance. If there's one thing we heard, it's the area along the highway there could use some enhancement. People drive through on the highway and don't really even get off the highway to know what Prescott Valley is once you turn north or you turn south. Encourage more attractive building design was an issue that has come up. Focus on compatibility between residential uses and non-residential uses. More things with design standards. Update the town's development regulations so that we can give the development community a better idea of what is required when they move to the community, so it's a smoother transition. And focus on street maintenance and level of service. You have information in there about level of service. It gets graded just like you do in school. And there's some areas there we can touch on as well. So we have those policies and goals. They're in there. You've had a chance to look through them. We have probably more goals and policies than most communities. And some of those focus on water conservation. That's an issue, ongoing issue. You know, we've heard about overdraft, and yes, the Prescott Valley active management area is in an overdraft situation. And everybody here today who used any water is contributing to it. Not just the town of Prescott Valley, but all those people have wells and all the people in the other communities. And we're aware of that. And we're encouraging more conservation. You have it. We can do it in building codes. We can do it in landscaping. We can do it with utility rates. As you use more water, you pay more for it to encourage people to use less. Some of the things that we're looking at even are on the right. The Arizona Department of Water Resources did a whole book on indigenous plants in our area that are low water consuming. We're recommending this be implemented so that the town looks more like a native town, natural landscaping, and not imported landscaping that might be unattractive for our environment or takes a lot of water. So how can we move those things forward? And then we have, as I mentioned, our circulation map. You'll see a lot more red arrows and things on there indicating where new streets are being proposed. Because one thing people asked us or told us was, where are the new streets? How wide's the street going to be? What's the connection? How will you plan for the future? So this has a lot more information on it than the one you have now. And likewise, on the general plan land use map, we've shown where the land uses are now, where we expect them to be. All those blue areas that say PAD stands for Planned Area Development. And in those areas, we've indicated in a general way what should be there. And when you see a zoning case in the future, you will have the specifics to deal with as to what exactly would you like to see in each of those planned area developments based on the character you would like to see developed. So where we are tonight is this is before you for action, for consideration, and it's on your agenda. The resolution you have is Resolution 2022-2250. That is yours for consideration. The staff recommends the affirmative that you approve the resolution and that we move this forward to put it on the election in the fall. So with that, Mayor, Council, if you have any questions, I'd be pleased to answer them.
Thank you, sir. At this time, I'd like to open it up to the public to come on down. Even if you didn't fill out a form, this is a little bit different than call to the public. So if you feel as if this is something you'd wish to speak about, we'll just kind of stand in the back or where you're at, and I can recognize you from there, as well as what the clerk may have in regards to forms.
I would like to call Jane Terhune.
Welcome, ma'am.
I actually wanted to speak before and didn't get called. I handed in my paper, but I don't know what happened. But this is more about the general plan anyway. Probably it wasn't mentioned in the general plan, but it's something. I'm a 6-year resident of Prescott Valley. I live in Park Ridge. Retired here, and then my 2 sons joined me, and I now have a grandson here, produced by a full-fledged Prescott Valley girl, so I'm really a Prescott Valley resident now. I'm a dog owner, and I've been going to the Prescott Valley, Mountain Valley Dog Park since I moved here. Used to be a decent water pump there that worked. The other water supplies there don't work very well. You can't really fill. I know this sounds petty, but this is a nice place to live, and people love dogs in Arizona. We're known for that here. And you can't fill a dog bowl at the other source of water. I've called the town about it. Nothing happens. Now, when you go to the Prescott Dog Park, they have a proper water pump and works fine. For 2 weeks, the Prescott folks had to come to our dog park. And I'm not really sure why that was. Theirs was shut down for one reason or another, and they were horrified. They talk about it to this day. Oh my God, what a horrible place you've got there. Because with this crazy mess we've got going on with the pump not functioning properly, and it's leaking, and it's taped up, and the other thing we've got, it's a wacky job. The water comes out on the ground, it leaks, and there's a big old mud puddle there, so what do you think the dogs do? They love to come and roll around on their backs in it. So the dogs are a mess. Anyway, you can imagine. So can you guys please get the water pump fixed? I keep asking the other people to call you, and I don't know what it is about a lot of Prescott Valley folks. They just kind of think, they say, oh, they won't do anything. They won't do anything. I say, yes, they will. You have to call. You have to do something. You have to call. You have to complain. And so they're not complaining to you, so nothing's happening. I beg of you, please, for the dog's sake. And can we get some more? Maybe up in north, around Viewpoint, can we get another dog park in this wonderful plan? Why isn't there another dog park in the plan? I didn't see that. There's not another dog park, sir? The planner? Why not? Nobody suggested it?
Actually, ma'am, he can't comment from.
Oh, okay.
from the
I'm so
seats.
sorry.
It's
But
okay.
I'm suggesting it.
No, we appreciate that, and Mr. Davidson's taken note as well for the four-legged friends that can't be here tonight. So don't worry about that.
Mr. Larry Sutterman.
Welcome, sir.
My name is Larry Suderman. Lived here for almost 24 years. Prescott Valley East. Viewpoint East. We have a couple issues. Speaking of water waste, we have a situation going from Viewpoint West over across Viewpoint Drive into Viewpoint East that's undermining walls on Viewpoint East. I know that Bill Davidson has been addressed on it, and I believe he's working on it, but that needs to be addressed seriously. Another thing, I'm blessed with multiple sclerosis. My version is not nearly as bad as most, but the medical problem in this city, which is not addressed in any kind of study that I've seen, we don't have sufficient doctors in our area at all, not even close. Especially, I always have trouble with the word. Doctors. My brain's just not working. But, we need more medical doctors up here to deal with neurological conditions. And the ones that we have, I have to go to Cottonwood to see a neurologist. I have members in my support group that have to go to Phoenix. That is not appropriate for our area. We need to do something about that. We also still have road safety, and not just crosswalks, that is a problem, but The roads in this area need work. Maintenance is just very poor on it. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, sir. And I believe Mr. Davidson's also aware of the drainage section that you're speaking of. Mr. Davidson is working on that. Mr. Davidson is aware of the drainage area that you are speaking of in reference to that, so I just want to make sure you were aware of that.
Yes.
Clerk?
Mr. Randy Hayes.
Welcome.
Well, good evening. I'm going to speak directly into this microphone so you can hear me, okay? I've done this before. I stand here before you today because I want to bring something to your attention on your agenda on how to keep our fair, vibrant city safe, strong, and healthy. We have a community of people who live and work in PV that work at various department stores and Safeway, Sprouts, Ace, Alliance, Home Depot, places like that are in other various hospitality industries. These are people who have incomes that, to start with, are not very good, and they're struggling in this area. And I'm quite sure you're aware of this. This is nothing new to you. I think it's being somewhat addressed in the general plan. So they have a lot of other expenses like child care and insurance, utility bills, car payments, etc. I believe one of your top priorities is tourism. Tourism is something that the other visitors who eventually move here and think about wanting to move here eventually because they're coming here to see if this is a place that they desire to live. After all, if you're going to provide those services to people who come here to visit, you should have people who are working in the other service industries to provide that good service for them to make, appreciate this area. Without these folks who work in these various settings previously mentioned, you would not have food, clothes, or other various types of home services that you take for granted every day. By allowing higher-end housing, you limit the kind of folks who can afford to live here. There are many cities and towns across the country who have developed plans that address the lower income and homeless. I suggest maybe you look up affordable housing on Google, as I did today, again, and found many cities across the country that are doing something to address this kind of a problem. Now, there is one case in point here that was on Nextdoor that I was looking at. It was this 36-year-old who currently pays around $1,200 a month and has 2 kids under the age of 2 currently living in a 2-bedroom, 1-bath home with no air conditioning. It's going to get hot. It will be getting hot pretty soon anyway. If there is any help here in the Prescott Valley area, he would like to know what he can do to try and help him out with his family. In the meantime, in the last year, he feels that the people that move from higher rent communities can provide help him with an upper hand. So my question to you is, can you allow for more responsible development of our community that is inclusive of all citizens, not just a select few at the higher end of the economic scale? Okay?
Thank you.
Isabel Cercedes.
Welcome back.
Thank you. On the general plan, under circulation on Chapter 8, I noticed that in the 2025 plan, it had Antelope Meadows Road as a major arterial. It was listed as Exhibit CIR 11, and under the proposed 2035 plan, the same road is listed as a collector, and that's Exhibit CIR 1. So I'm not sure if that's an error or if there was a change, but it now appears as though Pronghorn Ranch has 11 crosswalks on a major arterial that is now changing to a collector. The other thing is on Chapter 4, under Vision, I'm asking for leaders to look further, deeper into the vision for the town. I think the town needs some drastic improvement. It appears to me that the older and less affluent areas are being neglected. So I'm asking you to consider changing from a town to a city, which I think would be in the best interest of current residents. A city can choose to split into representative council districts, and residents will be better represented. For example, Pronghorn Ranch doesn't have the same interests and concerns that Superstition Hills might have. Jasper doesn't have the same concerns as Tranquil area, and Mingus West may have different concerns versus Unit 19. Also, if you do take a look at that, I think you should consider adding to the plan adopting a charter. A charter would strengthen government operation guidelines in line with the survey results that show citizens are concerned with leadership and what's happening in our town. The city of Prescott adopted their charter in 1958. Sedona was incorporated as a city in 1988. So I don't know what Prescott Valley is waiting for. Also, in the 2035 plan under a policy language, and I think it was under the implementation plan, it does say there's a clear commitment when referencing policy. However, it does say should in the language as opposed to shall. And I think shall is an imperative command indicating that actions are mandatory and not permissive. The town code even indicates that shall is a mandatory action, and for consistency's sake, I think it should be changed. If you can do a word search and look under policy and maybe change should to shall. Also maybe look at handicap. I did notice that there's some other areas where it says handicap, and perhaps it's better to say disability. Also, there does need to be, can I have another minute?
I believe Mr. Ballmer is able to address a lot of this based off of your last conversation at the last public hearing. So thank you, ma'am.
Well, he did tell me that to bring it up to council.
Okay, thank you, ma'am.
So I can't have another minute to finish up?
No, ma'am.
Okay. Thank you for your time and thank you for listening.
Clerk.
Mr. Dale Strickland?
Without being disrespectful, I just have a couple of comments.
Sir, if you could just go to the microphone, just because they won't be able to hear you online.
Well, Mr. Ballmer did a great job with his presentation on the future plan. I thought it was really impressive. I thought it was great. The comments about the water conservation and the promotional ideas of conserving water, I thought those were terrific. So I won't really get into that. All I can say is relative to the future of the area here, all I can suggest is please be proactive in terms of what you're doing and what you're considering for town development. I think that, I get the impression sometimes that developers are coming to you and saying, hey, we've got this piece of land out here, we've got 200 acres, and this is what we'd like to do, and just kind of give you their ideas. And all I can suggest is, if you go ahead and take the plan that Mr. Ballmer has outlined here and said, all right, this is what we're trying to do, this is what our objective is in terms of making our community grow and what our projections are, and go ahead and hold yourselves and hold these developers to those plans. Set up the infrastructure, start laying out those streets and the sidewalks and the curbs and gutters and sewers and stuff, and basically get those ideas pretty well finalized from your perspective. And then when the developers come and say, well, we've got this idea for that or whatever, you say, hey, look, this is our plan, this is what we'd like to see, and if you can work your plan to fit our needs, what our projections are, then I think we're going to be a lot better off, because then you're going to get the town that you're looking for, and making it the place that you, Mr. Mayor, have said we want to make Prescott Valley a destination. Let's make it a destination. Let's make other businesses, other people want to come here because they see what Prescott Valley really is. Thank you, appreciate it.
Thank you, sir. Sir, I don't think you could have described what a general plan is any better than that in layman's terms, so well done.
Citizen Jacqueline Visa.
Welcome
Welcome back.
Thank you. I'm glad to see that the town is committed to following all laws and regulations related to water management. However, these laws and regulations promote growth and not water conservation. When will you give priority to saving our water for future generations? This should be in the plan. The general plan seems to ignore the current average annual 4,000 acre-feet contribution to the overdraft. The State Water Agency says that our overdraft, the difference between the volume of groundwater pumped and recharged in the Quad Cities area, is 18,000 acre-feet per year. This is equivalent to a football field 3.5 miles high, and that's each year. So why does the general plan say the overdraft is only 7,000 acre-feet per year? Don't you believe the State Water Agency? Each new house, apartment, commercial building worsens the current serious problem, no matter how efficient it is inside and outside, and how effective wastewater recharge is. Each new house makes this worse because it's impossible to recharge every gallon you supply to the new house. The solution to pipe water from the Big Chino aquifer that the people of Paulden and others depend on is not a good one, and it has many barriers. Not only does this mean PV can't live within its means, but it appears that you want to double our population with Big Chino water. So the developers profit, sales tax increases, and we get traffic and turn into a Phoenix-like suburb. Please correct me if I'm wrong, but it appears to me that this was one of the things that came out of the survey that residents do not want. I'm asking that smart growth be part of the solution and drought-tolerant landscaping at new developments be required, and at least 25% be dedicated to open space, not simply recommended in the plan, and that compliance with reaching safe yield and within future water sustainability also be added to the plan. Thank you for listening and your time this evening.
Thank you, ma'am. Clerk?
Lastly, I have Sandy Cordova.
Ma'am, did you already said your part earlier? Okay, thank you, ma'am.
No one else.
Mr. Balmer, would you like to join us back at the podium? Council, before we have Mr. Balmer respond to anything additional, we'd like to ask Mr. Balmer some questions or any comments you'd like to add. I'll start off. Mr. Balmer, you did a great job in regards to trying to reach out to as many people as possible. As you mentioned, historically in the past, the meetings that we've had, whether it was for budget or other interests in the town, hasn't produced the number of individuals or at least comments that this survey that you were able to do here. So I think it's so important that just because a person didn't have to physically come down and speak their mind, they were able to convey it on paper is just as effective. So that was a great add to this year's 2035. So I just want to commend you on that. Vice Mayor?
Thank you, Wayne. I think you did a great job, and I appreciate your patience with me. You and I met for several hours through all the different drafts, and I thank you very much for that. And then I'd also like to say there were some comments that we heard about road maintenance, and I would just like to say that there's millions of dollars, and I don't have that number off the top of my head, in road maintenance and other capital improvements in the 2022-23 budget this year, which we'll be hearing in a couple weeks here. So I invite you back for that presentation, because we're probably spending more money on road maintenance and other capital improvements this year in the proposed budget than we have in any year in the recent past.
Probably history.
And so I'm really proud of the budget the draft budget that has been presented to us, and I encourage you to go online and look at it, because a lot of what I heard tonight, those questions could be answered. And I do want to thank Mr. Strickland, is it, for his comments. I echo what the mayor said, that you have a good understanding of what the general plan document it is, that it is truly a general document and it is a guiding document. And this community has seen only about 2% growth in the last couple years, and which isn't very much. And our population numbers in this general plan, the projections have been greatly reduced from the previous general plan. The previous general plan were in the 120,000s, which I personally always thought was way too much. And so if you look at this document, they were greatly reduced in the projections. And so I would like to thank Mr. Balmer for that as well. And again, I just think the ease of reading it and the pictures and the colors were very user-friendly. I too want to congratulate you on the amount of comments we got. I don't think, we frequently invite the public in. We're a very transparent community to comment at meetings, and we get maybe 7 to 10 people if we're lucky. And to get 950 some comments on a general plan is astronomical. And I thank you for that effort that you did.
Vice Mayor, you're welcome.
Councilwoman.
I would just like to echo the Vice Mayor's comments regarding the general plan as being more of an umbrella, but some of the action items that we are taking really immediately regarding the upcoming budget, and again, to address just some of the comments that we heard regarding water conservation. And we are putting money, a large amount of money, towards not only improved stormwater management, but stormwater management in such a way that we can actually capture some of that water and get it back down into the aquifer. So those are things that are being done right now. I mean, we'll be voting to approve the budget before you guys will be voting to approve the general plan. So that the action is happening. Just because it's not written, the words aren't written in the general plan, doesn't mean that it's not at the forefront of our priorities. But I thank you, and I thank you for updating my maps in here as well. Thank you.
You're very welcome.
Vice Mayor.
Sorry. I have another comment that we didn't bring out, and I think we should. So we got some comments in, and I think, Isabel, this may have been yours or somebody else at P&Z, said how often, people are concerned that the guidelines, goals, and policies, how do we implement that? How do we make sure they get implemented? And I can promise you that we all are interested in that implementation. And because Gilbert is on board, and the way that he's formulated and worked with staff and energized our staff about doing more and better customer service, that those guidelines, goals, and policies will be addressed, and we can make sure of that. And there was something added on page 12 of the general plan in chapter 13, and I'm going to read it real quick. It says, to keep the goals and policies alive in the minds of the town's decision makers and residents, it's recommended the town undertake an annual review, and this is the new part, and the council be provided with periodic updates, so sooner than annually, of those guidelines, policies, and objectives of the progress being made on achieving goals shown in the plan, and make course corrections as needed to keep moving in the right direction. So I know that came up at P&Z meeting, and I just thank you for that amendment. That makes me feel better because I wanted it a little bit more frequently, so I appreciate that. I think that was, and I also wanted to talk about affordable housing because that's near and dear to my heart. So I'm happy with the document with regard to affordable housing. I'm very excited in the budget this year. We are going to do a master drainage study, which hasn't been done since 2000, I think. And the exciting part about that is that we have a section of town that's in the flood control area, and our town owns many lots in that flood control area, 30 or more.
I believe so.
Yeah. So, and they're small lots, which is okay. But if we, through this drainage study, can get more of that area out of the floodplain, then those lots that we own could be attractive for Habitat for Humanity, as the mayor has suggested, or other, tiny homes or other homes that could be built that will remain affordable for the teachers coming in and the police officers and the firefighters. So again, like Councilwoman Hepperly said, there's a lot of things happening in the new budget that will help us implement what's being put into the general plan.
Mr. Ballmer, you want to maybe comment to some of the things we heard this evening at this time?
Mayor, thank you. Well, first, with regard to water, I think it was Mark Twain who said, whiskey's for drinking and water's for fighting over. And it's been that way since Arizona was a territory, because Arizona has more demands for water than we have water available. And throughout the state, overdraft is an issue. You can read about it in any newspaper. But the issue actually goes back to the state of Arizona. The state of Arizona has the Arizona Department of Water Resources that regulates the use of water in Arizona. We are limited by the Arizona Department of Water Resources. Every new home you hook up, we have to guarantee a 100-year supply of water. So you can't say we'll take care of you for 10 years and you're on your own. You may have seen Rio Verde, for instance, in the Phoenix area, where they were on wells, wildcat subdivision with private wells that failed. And they're pretty much on their own. They didn't have somebody to guarantee a 100-year supply as you do to your residents. Now, we have a lot of homes that are built, but we have a lot of vacant lots as well. Some of them you see, as was mentioned, around the streets. Some of them you don't see yet because they're in subdivision plats that are moving forward. So we have about 18,000 lots in the community and about 3,000 more, all of which have received from the Arizona Department of Water Resources a certificate of assured water supply. What that means is the state of Arizona, on your behalf, has promised those people they will have a 100-year supply of water. And if you don't provide it, they will be very angry and likely take you to court over that, in that you breached an agreement that had been made. So your first responsibility is to lawfully operate your water company. And to do that, you must provide water to those people who've been given a certificate of assured water supply. So there isn't a way to say we're not going to hook up any more homes. They already have a legal requirement to get water. So then the question is, well, how much more can you do with what you have? And we've talked about how can you extend your water supply? Can we reclaim more water? A lot of water is used outside of the home and for landscaping. Can we do more efficient landscaping so we have less water used there? More water used in the home goes into your reclamation facility and can be recharged into the ground. Some additional things like water harvesting, rainwater harvesting. Those are some new things we can do. You can do things with your utility rates to encourage people to conserve water. But the one thing you really can't do is stop growing. It's a requirement of the state. It's a requirement of your community. And some of the comments that we've received, and I should say, in the book that you have, we have 3 little insert pages that were put in there. Those show strikeouts or additions, and there's 3 of them, and one of them was mentioned tonight. So you have those, and those pages will be replaced in the book that you have when it's the new book with those new pages. So those changes will be included. And I also wanted to mention, Mayor, that everything in here was what the Planning Commission saw, and also by reference what the Planning Commission heard. Ms. Cereces said she had some concerns about, we used the word handicapped, and should we use disabled? Why didn't we have some pictures with people of color? We had some good ideas like those from her, and we've changed that text, and it's now reflecting her comments that we made at that meeting. We also added some new pictures, and I'd sent them to her so that we have addressed her concerns. Ms. Mata also sent some emails, and we've tried to address her concerns. But the bottom line there is, she believes the situation regarding water is more serious because of the information they have than the town believes based on the information the town has. So it's a difference in how you look at it, but the bottom line is there is overdraft. Nobody can challenge the fact that we are overdrafting our aquifer. The question is, what do you do about it? And that's limited in part by the state, because we can't do anything more than the state allows us to do. And also, there are things that we can do, but some things that other people have to do as well. One of the issues around us, you may not know, is the issue about private wells that are unregulated in the amount of water they can take out of the ground in what are called wildcat subdivisions. Yavapai County has more unregulated wells than any other county in the state. And many of these are in areas where water is more sensitive. So they don't recharge. I mean, if they put recharge into the ground, it's wastewater. And they pump water out and they use it on things, and there's no limit. You can pump as much as you want to pay for electricity. So there's a lot of issues that go into water. And we're looking at it. We know there's an issue. The Big Chino has been offered as an option to resolve that. There will be others in the future. I mean, one of the other sayings in Arizona water is that water doesn't flow toward gravity, water flows toward money. And you see that in all kinds of issues about how do you put water into the Phoenix metropolitan area, for instance, so they can continue to grow. So it isn't unique that we have an overdraft problem. It is unique in that we're trying to address it by being as efficient as we can with water. And there is a long-term plan. There will be more issues come up, the things that the town can solve as far as providing water for those people. And it's not a crisis situation. You know, it is a manageable situation. So you see information in there. We did make a couple of changes where we thought maybe we did overreach a bit on some statistics. We took those out. You see that change on that page. But the bottom line is we realize there is an overdraft. The amount of overdraft, that isn't the issue. The issue is the policies in the back. What do you want to do about your water management? And you see there's new policies in there. There's things you can do. And the idea behind this, is it shall or is it should or is it must? A general plan is always should. It's an encouragement. You take whichever ones you like, you would go through and you would set priorities. You would come up with what ones you think are most important. And those are the ones you would focus your capital resources on. You update your zoning ordinances to make these things laws rather than a policy. You work with your town manager to say, we want updates on where we stand on these ones that we think are highest priority. So that's how it gets implemented. You would change the law to reflect your policies. That's why they are shoulds and not shalls. So it's an interesting document. You can also modify it. If more information comes up, you can modify it as a minor amendment, a major amendment, and 10 years from now, you're probably going to do the whole thing again anyway to reflect new situations. So really the idea is to give you new direction, new vision. The council can decide where you want to go from here, picking the ones that you like and say, this is the area of highest priority to us, and move forward with those. We wanted to give you a broader palette, a broader range of things that you can work on, given the fact that we are in a new day and we're moving into some new areas for the town to cover. So with that, Mayor, I hope I've answered the questions that you have. If I haven't, I'd be glad to add anything you'd like.
Sure, Mr. Ballmer, we appreciate that. And I think every single person can probably agree in this room that we all can't agree. It's not going to happen. We could be going through this over and over and over and over. And not every single, we're not going to get 100% unanimous. We agree that this is the best document for the town of Prescott Valley. So it's a fluid document, as you mentioned. I spoke to it was about a total of about 85 people yesterday for over probably close to 4 hours. And we talked about Prescott Valley, of course. And they talked about how much they just love coming and how much they love living in Prescott Valley. And naturally, I brought up the general plan. And probably, I'd say out of those 85, 20, 25 had gone on, reviewed it, looked at it, perused it, didn't get into the depths that you have by creating this document. But they understand that Prescott Valley is moving in a direction that they agreed with, that's what the reason why they relocated their family to our community. And just as it was mentioned tonight, that we're going to be voting as a council tonight on things that apply to this general plan. And it just goes to show you that we're talking about roads, we're talking about open space, we're talking about things for our community that make our community great. So I think that's important. You should be commended on that.
Thank you. Just two things in closing. One is I've probably done, I was trying to think of this, about 12 general plans throughout my career. This one is unique in that typically a community hires an out-of-town consultant from Phoenix or Los Angeles or someplace. You spend a lot of money. You have a general plan committee you set up. You say it's going to take 2 years to do this, and they go away, they come back, and they do a couple of surveys, and they say, here's your new general plan. And it's very brief, and generally after looking at a lot of them, there's a certain family resemblance. Consultants use the same pattern, and it's 20% Prescott Valley, 80% word processor. In this one, it is entirely Prescott Valley. We took that original plan that you had. You asked me, could I just update the Word documents, update the numbers? And I looked at it and said, that isn't the way the town needs to go. The town needs to buy into its new general plan. So we talked to every department and said, can you submit information? We talked to the Planning Commission. We've talked to you. We've encouraged people to edit it, put their own words in there, change things around, because I want this for you to be seen as our general plan. We did it, we wrote it, we approved it, we like it, and it's uniquely ours. And the fact that you have almost 1,000 people submitting information is really outstanding, I think, for general plans, and that you should be proud of the fact that you've put in a lot of time on doing this. And in closing, I would be remiss if I didn't mention the services that Joe Scott provided on this. I'm standing here before you this evening, but it was really a team effort. He did a lot of the graphics, great ideas, lots of history for the town, and so I really, in closing, wanted to thank him for his help in making this a success.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Davison, you want to finish closing remarks?
Mr. Mayor, members of the council, I couldn't say have said it any better than Mr. Ballmer, and it's been a pleasure to work with him and the professionalism that he's brought to this process and working with the team. And I am thankful that he recognized some of the other individuals from Joe Scott and Fernando Gonzalez and a broad team throughout all of our departments that worked many, many hours trying to deliver information, make adjustments and corrections, take in feedback from many different sources to make sure this is reflective of our great community. This plan, as has been highlighted, it has substantial changes in it, and it's a document of evolution. We are evolving as a community, and I think there's some very exciting goals that have been set out in this, and this aligns well with the council's new strategic plan that was adopted this past year. A couple things for those here in our audience and listening online. There's two things. First, the general plan has a whole host of specific goals. All of those goals have to be operationalized. So right now they're in a broad format. So as we talk about water conservation, new roadways, enhancements to our infrastructure, all of that has to still be developed. And as the Vice Mayor had pointed out, we want to be able to provide updates on a regular basis to the council and to the public. So a lot more work. This is not just a moment in time document that that the community looks at and adopts. This is a living document that will be with us for the next number of years. And will, again, continue to evolve and reflect the changes taking place in our community. The second thing, just so that everyone sees the importance of the feedback that we received from all of you and from all of those that, gave us their survey results. We as a staff have taken time to literally go survey question by survey question to really start to drill in on what does it mean when citizens feel a certain way. If it's tending to the negative, they don't see things in a certain light, We've really wanted to try to understand that, and from that is going to help shape and form our operational practices internally. So I'm very excited about that, and I think all the things that have been mentioned tonight, and I've taken copious notes, will be acting on all of the things that have been talked about. The last thing is, if upon your approval tonight, this will be, there's a number of steps that will have to be completed by the town clerk's office, but it will be placed on the November ballot. If it were not to be approved by the voters, the General Plan 2025 will be the guiding document. So if we don't adopt this visionary plan, the reversionary is we just remain with the existing document. So I hope as we are able to educate our community about what's contained in this plan, that they can see some exciting things for our community, and that they too would support this document. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, sir. With that being said, I'll entertain a motion.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to authorize the mayor to sign resolution.
I'm sorry, Vice Mayor, I don't mean to interrupt.
Close the
I'm
hearing.
going to close the public hearing.
Thank you. And thank you, Gilbert. That was very clear. Thank you. I'd like to make a motion to authorize the mayor to sign resolution number 2022-2250, adopting Prescott Valley General Plan 2035, GPA 21-001, and referring the same to the voters for ratification at the November 8th, 2022 general election by electronic vote.
I'll second.
Clerk, please call the vote.
That passes unanimously, Mayor.
Thank you, ma'am. Item 9B, intergovernmental agreement, Glassford Hill Open Space Recreation Opportunities. I believe, Mr. Judy, you'll be handling this.
Mayor, Council, approximately 2 months ago, we brought an item before you regarding the potential purchase of the hill you see with the sun setting behind it. Right now, Glassford Hill. One item in your strategic plan is for the acquisition of additional open space and trails in our community. To that end, we have been meeting with representatives from the City of Prescott, Yavapai County, the Arizona State Land Department, and the Arizona State Parks and Trails. So we've been having some very productive meetings. Over the past couple of months, we've been refining an IGA, an intergovernmental agreement between the City of Prescott, us, and Yavapai County. Happy to report that we've made good progress on that. That's what we're bringing to you tonight. Before I get into the details of that, I just wanted to show a map to you. This was done in 1998. There was an effort made then to preserve Glassford Hill. So this has been a project that's been going on for 24 years now. We're trying to reinvigorate that. Key points in the IGA, we're trying to preserve approximately 3,300 acres. It's a 10-year agreement. Prescott Valley, Prescott, and Yavapai County will meet at least annually to discuss which parcels we might attempt to take down from the State Land Department. The three parties, meaning Prescott, Prescott Valley, and Yavapai County, agree to split any appraisals, filing, advertising, administration, archaeological survey, and other fees. And Yavapai County will be paying 35% of any parcels that are purchased from State Land Department. So how will this be funded? Our preliminary appraisals show it could be valued anywhere from $10,000 to $14,000 per acre. We're hoping that will come down. That's a preliminary number. I took the appraiser to the top of Glassford Hill on Friday, and it's literally at the top of a volcano. Good luck building a house on the top of a lava cone. So we're hoping the value will come down. This area was formerly designated as an area for conservation by the State Land Department. So how are we going to pay for this? Several sources. We're hoping first to knock off 50% of the cost through land and water conservation funds. We've already made pleas to the federal government, to our state government for allocations. We would be using town general funds. We would be looking at private investment to help us with trail and mountain bike infrastructure. And any future purchase would come before the town council. So even though you're approving this IGA, it doesn't automatically mean we're going to just go spend millions and millions of dollars without bringing an action before you again. The way we're splitting the land between Prescott and Prescott Valley, Prescott would be acquiring approximately, I'm doing math in my head, 1,700 acres, and Prescott Valley would be acquiring approximately 1,600 acres for that 3,300 total. These are all the parcels. Again, these are all state land parcels that we would be acquiring between the two communities. I'm going to zoom in on the major sections that the town would ultimately be looking to purchase. As those sections there, you see our existing trail and that red and white dotted line going on top of Glassford Hill. So we would be acquiring that section, the section just to the west of it, as long as that section to the northwest. Questions?
I don't have any questions, Mr. Judy. I just have a comment that this is one of the largest IGA cooperative between Prescott Valley, and Yavapai County that I think in the history of our communities. So
I would agree.
I think this is huge. We talk about having open space, and this is that opportunity to, as you said, we're not going out and buying it, writing a check tomorrow. It's just starting the conversation and getting the balls rolling. So I think this is huge for our community. Council?
Hi, Ryan. Could you explain a little bit about the auction aspect of this? When the property goes up for auction, is there a possibility that we could miss out?
Mayor, council member, yes, the Arizona State Land Department does have to put it up for a public auction. So once we get to that step, we would be going to the courthouse steps and bidding on this property. The town does control zoning, and so if there was an attempt by a developer or somebody to purchase it, the town does still maintain control over zoning and what can be placed on that hill. So if a second party were to come in and outbid us, the town would be reimbursed for all of its expenses to date. So the appraisal that had been done, archaeological surveys, and all of that. But again, the town does maintain control because that main section in the middle is already annexed into the town of Prescott Valley.
Vice Mayor?
I had a meeting with, I sat in for the mayor at a meeting with Senator Sinema, and she is a major biker, and she's very excited about this. And so I think that federal money hopefully will be going up, contribution from them. And I just want to echo what the mayor said about the cooperation and the IGA. This isn't the only IGA with a neighboring jurisdiction on this agenda. We have another IGA with the city of Prescott to help train our officers for motorcycles. And I just want to thank the mayor and the town manager for their cooperation with other jurisdictions that I think has been more fruitful in the last year with the multi-city, multi-town cooperation. So thank you, guys.
And also probably want to point out that this IGA has been approved by...
Correct. Yavapai County approved it last Wednesday. The city of Prescott approved it on Tuesday.
Oh, good.
So we are the last to go.
Do we have any other questions or comments for Mr. Judy on this item? I'll entertain a motion.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to approve an intergovernmental agreement with the city of Prescott and Yavapai County to purchase state trust land parcels on Glassford Hill for open space and recreation purposes by electronic vote.
I second.
Clerk, please call the vote.
The passes unanimously, Mayor.
Thank you, ma'am. Moving on to item 9C. Is it Alnix? Alinix. Lease dish telecom equipment, Public Works Yard, consideration and possible action. Mr. Judy?
Mayor, council, I know this will disappoint you. I don't have a PowerPoint for this presentation. I'll be brief. This is a fairly routine matter that we bring before you probably two to three times per year. The town encourages any cell phone towers to go in a public land designation, so meaning parks, schools, water tanks, and that way any revenue that comes in can benefit the residents as a whole, and we can maintain some control over that. This facility is proposed to go on an existing monopole that's located at our Public Works Yard. They would be adding an array to it and a small accessory building to the side of it. At that, the town will be realizing approximately $974 per month as a result of this agreement. So it's a good revenue source for the town. It's co-locating on an existing tower, so there's not any additional verticality to this facility.
Thank you, sir. Council, have any questions in regards to this? Yes, sir. Go ahead, Councilman.
This dish network, I thought was satellite. What are they going to put on these towers?
I think they're getting into the market for either internet or cell service in this area, because they're actually looking at other parts of town as well.
Thank you.
With that being said, I'll entertain a motion.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to authorize the mayor, or in his absence, the vice mayor, to sign a lease agreement with Elinitz for storage of telecom equipment in the Public Works Yard on Laredo Drive in the amount of $974 per month by electronic vote.
Second.
Clerk, please call the vote.
Vice Mayor Hunt? That passes unanimously, Mayor.
Next up, item 9D, micro sealing program, fiscal year 2022-2023, contract award. Mr. Davis, welcome.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. This is the item that you have before you as a summer 22 pavement maintenance program. We come every year before you to talk about our yearly maintenance. It is a significant investment into continued maintenance and a life cycle of our pavements. And this year, the choice was made that we are going to go with a micro seal application, which is a real nice product. The picture you have in front of you was actually, staff went out this week and actually viewed this micro seal going on, this is actually Highway 89 towards the southwest portion of Prescott, down by the Wilhoit area. ADOT did 7 miles. So they did 7 miles up in the Paulden area last year on 89 north of Chino Valley. So this is a product that's used routinely. In fact, it was used on Highway 69 just a couple years ago on both sides of our community on Highway 69. Obviously, the section left in Prescott Valley here, we're looking at a mill and fill next year at this time, but microseal is a product that's used quite frequently. So we did review this operation, very confident with the microseal operation for our maintenance treatment this year. So we went out for bid, and we did come to council this past March, talk about this year's program. You can see the roads that are delineated here. So this is $1.8 million in effort this year. And as you can see, this was put onto the website back in February, so it's been out, and we've been maintaining each one of these streets to get up in tip-top shape before we put that final maintenance service on. So contractor bids were very good. We got 3 responses, and the low bidder is Southwest Slurry Seal at $1.8 million, basically, and that was actually the picture in the previous slide. That's the same contractor. They're very good at what they do. I've got a great level of confidence in their ability to do this work. So this particular work will get started the new budget year starting July 1st. We're always very well applauded for contractors saying that's a difficult time of year for governments to do work. We are done with our budget. We get going July 1st, so we do get good competition and get the aggregate being crushed locally and the oil futures ready to be delivered. So we're going to be ready to go upon council award tonight to hit this program starting basically July 1st. And it'll be done about mid-August. One thing I do want to point out, a microseal operation, it is a particular mixed product. You can see in that particular truck, it does take about half a day to cure. So different what you'll see this year is when we pass intersections, they put a little more admixture to get to cure faster. But you'll see typically when they do neighborhood streets and roadways, they do it half at a time, come back the next day, and it does have to cure for about 4 hours because I want to make sure that particular material cures out. So if we'll do a significant media outreach on where we're working, get with the businesses way ahead of time, but obviously this is a final maintenance treatment. They'll be very pleased with the product in the end, but we'll maintain access best we can and get plenty of word ahead of time to residents and businesses. That's my comments tonight.
Thank you, sir. Vice Mayor?
I have a real quick question, Norm. What's the difference between Type 3 micro seal and Type 3 slurry seal?
That's what is cost again. And so what you get is on the major arterials in this next particular exhibit, you see the blue and white, that's microseal. It's a little more expensive product. As explained, it's the operation looks the same, but the particular admixtures that get the cure, it's a little more expensive. And it's a little more hardy on our major roads with more traffic. And when you can see in the Quailwood subdivision where you get the black and yellow, and in the Raven Ridge, that's actually a slurry. It looks the same to the layman, but it's not as processed and expensive of a material. Works very well with lower volume roads. It's actually a little more malleable since you don't have as much truck traffic, and it heals itself better and doesn't crack as frequently. So that's really the basic difference in layman's terms.
Any other questions? I'll entertain a motion.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to award the bid to and approve a contract with Southwest Slurry Seal LLC for the micro sealing program fiscal year 22-23 in the amount of $1,816,588.65 by electronic vote.
I second.
Clerk, please call the vote.
That passes unanimously,
Mayor,
Mayor.
Council.
Thank you, Mr. Davis. Last item this evening, item 9E, emergency generator purchase, Little Pete Well. Mr. Wadsworth, oh no, Mr. Judy, I didn't look up.
Mayor, Council, I know I'm not no Wadsworth. We both have about the same amount of hair, but he had to leave to go home, so I'm going to fill in for him. Ms. Fernandez, is there a presentation? No? Okay, I'm looking at one. This is an item that was budgeted for this year, an emergency generator for our Little Pete Well. If you understand our water system, our wells pump into our tanks, and then our tanks gravity feed through our water distribution system to our houses. We have an emergency generator that's fixed, a permanent generator at our Fat Chance well, which is our biggest producing well in town. The Little Pete well is in the North Well field, so just to the west of the Viewpoint subdivision. It is our second best well producer. It's one that's been recently constructed within the past couple of years. This really is an emergency management type of thing where if we have an extended power outage, we want to be able to provide secure water service to our residents. So with that, this is a budgeted item. We are proposing that you approve of this purchase.
And I believe also Council, Mr. Wadsworth mentioned, discussed this in previous work studies.
With lead time, it will take us 44 or 46 weeks to get it. So even though you're proving it now, it will be paid for next fiscal year. So supply chain, I know you've heard that frequently, too much.
Council, if we don't have any questions, or do we have any questions or comments? Entertain a motion.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to approve the purchase of an emergency generator for the Little Pete Well from Lofton Equipment Company in the amount of $243,124.21 by electronic vote.
I'll second.
Clerk, please call the vote.
That passes unanimously, Mayor.
Thank you, ma'am. Item 10.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to adjourn.
Yes, sir.
I'll second.
Clerk, please call the vote.
That passes unanimously, Mayor.
Thank you, ma'am. Everyone have a great night. Thanks for sticking it out. I know this was a long one.